Moses' story begins long before he ever drew breath, in a land where fear ruled the throne and oppression pressed against an entire nation. The Hebrews, once welcomed in Egypt, had become slaves under a king who feared their growing strength. Every day the sound of labor filled the air, brick molds slamming, whips cracking, voices crying out under the heat of the sun. It was in this world of suffering that Moses entered, born into a time when Pharaoh had commanded the death of every Hebrew boy. Yet destiny has a way of surviving what tries to destroy it. Moses' mother hid him for 3 months, shielding him from the soldiers who searched for infants. When she could hide him no longer, she placed him in a small woven basket, sealed with tar, and set him upon the Nile. This was not abandonment. It was surrender to the God who sees what human eyes cannot. The river carried Moses to the daughter of Pharaoh, who drew him from the water and named him Moses, meaning drawn out. The child who should have died now grew up in the very palace that had ordered his execution. Raised with royal education yet tied to a Hebrew soul, Moses lived between 2 worlds. And when he witnessed an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, the conflict inside him erupted. In a moment of anger, he struck the Egyptian and hid the body. But the deed became known, and Moses fled into the wilderness, leaving behind his status, his identity, and the life he thought he understood. In the wilderness of Midian, Moses found a quieter existence. He tended flocks across silent plains, married, and built a simple life, far from Egypt, far from the cries of his people. To Moses, it may have seemed like the closing of his story. But with God, the wilderness is never the end. It is the place where purpose is forged. One day, as Moses led his flock near Horeb, the mountain of God, his attention was drawn to a strange sight, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed. The fire burned with an otherworldly brilliance. As Moses approached, a voice called his name. Moses, Moses, and the ground before him became holy. Take off your sandals, the voice said, for the place where you stand is holy ground. There, in the glow of the burning bush, Moses heard the words that would redefine his life. God had seen the oppression of his people. He had heard their cries, and now he would send Moses to deliver them. Moses trembled at the command. He felt unworthy, unprepared, uncertain. But God assured him that he would not go alone. With a staff in his hand and God's promise in his heart, Moses returned to Egypt, not as a fugitive but as a messenger. He stood before Pharaoh and spoke the words that would echo through history. "Let my people go." Pharaoh's heart hardened, and Egypt trembled under the weight of plagues that revealed God's power. But even in resistance, the plan of God moved forward. Finally, the night came when the Israelites walked out of Egypt, a nation freed from centuries of bondage. Moses led them through parted waters, into the wilderness, toward the mountain where he had once stood barefoot before the burning presence of God. There, atop Mount Sinai, thunder rolled and lightning flashed as the presence of God descended like fire. Moses climbed the mountain and entered the cloud of glory, receiving the commandments that would shape the identity of a people and the future of a world. From a basket on the Nile to the fire on the mountain, Moses' life reveals a single truth. God does not choose the strongest, the loudest, or the most qualified. He chooses those who are willing to hear his voice, and when they do, their story becomes far greater than anything they dreamed.